would cheer me too. Good evening, everyone. So on Tuesday, President Trump said most of the people he had in mind to lead Iran are now dead. The Democratic Party responded by saying, that didn't stop us. The Iranian Supreme Council has decided the successor to the Ayatollah will be his eldest son. Here he is accepting the position. Too late. In other news, NASA is planning a mission to the moon with a crew of 4 astronauts. Is there room for more? Asked these men. True, it seems that Iran's potential successors keep getting killed, but everyone here at Fox still believes we have the perfect guy for the job. Meanwhile, the U.S. is getting international help for the war. Canada is offering political support, Germany is offering logistical support, and India is offering tech support. We love you, India. Yesterday on The View, while discussing Iran, Joy Behar said there's something fishy going on. SeaWorld said the same thing when she hopped in the tank with Shamu. You don't have to clap.
They were expecting something much worse from you guys.
I know. I didn't go to that direction. California taxpayers have been footing the bill for Kamala Harris's security for her nationwide book tour. Yes, we've been told that she needs 10 guys to guard the keg. Finally, Hillary Clinton demanded beauty lighting for her testimony concerning Jeffrey Epstein. House Republicans rejected her request, saying we can't have an interview in the dark. Should end there. And as for her husband, in his deposition, when a witness claimed he likes them young, Bill denied that, saying he doesn't care how old they are as long as they're fat. All right. So Operation Epic Fury. You know, I got to ask my pal Pete, what have we done in under a week?
In under a week, the 2 most powerful air forces in the world will have complete control of Iranian skies, uncontested airspace. Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power every minute of every day until we decide it's over.
Seems like a heck of a start. And while we control the skies, the U.S. has sent over 20 Iranian warships straight to the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, they went down faster than Don Lemon at a highway rest stop. And the leadership, well, the supreme leader is supremely dead. And the meeting to elect a new leader, we bombed that too. Their line of succession is down to 3 goats and a chicken. Or as the Iranians call it, their council of elders. And remember Iran's plot to assassinate Trump? The leader of that operation hunted down and killed. Everyone's gone. Their war room is as empty as a Kilmeade book signing.
What is going? That's 2. That's 2. I didn't say anything yet.
Because most of the people we had in mind are dead.
Well, most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, you know, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group. They may be dead also.
Just leave some alive, maybe. I don't know. But it's true. Iran is like a giant Home Depot. Everyone's wandering around asking, do you work here? So we've seen what we did with Iran, but to understand how Iran forced our hand by stockpiling missiles, uranium, and cash, you have to go back to the hand that fed them, to the guy who made the worst deal Trump has ever seen.
Barack Hussein Obama made maybe the worst deal I've ever seen, because he gave all power in the Middle East to Iran, and I terminated that. If I didn't terminate that deal, they would be sitting with a massive nuclear weapon.
Last time we take foreign policy direction from a Kenyan. So one president made terrible deals, another terminated them, freeing a persecuted population. And so many people are saying, thank you.
So many people are saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. You see it in the streets of Los Angeles. They have thousands of people. I saw it the other day, pictures of Donald Trump. The fact is that people are happy what we did.
You can understand why Iranians have lived under one of the most repressive regimes on earth, one that massacred thousands of protesters just this year. And Trump incapacitated that threat. True, Iran was like Joe Biden, and Trump was a flight of stairs. Hell, even the lone sane Democrat gets it.
This is great.
The top 55 of them were killed, and I think they just blew up 80 of the randoms mullahs, too. Which, I mean, that was pretty great, actually.
Yeah. It's amazing. The more his brain heals, the less he sounds like a Democrat. Yeah. So now it seems Trump is clearing the board of unresolved and escalating threats that grew from previous administration's failures. It's what he did in Venezuela. Maduro refused to take the deal, and now he's in a jail cell that Hillary Clinton didn't kill Jeffrey Epstein in. But unlike previous administrations, Trump didn't invade. He took the head, left the body. It's the same thing RFK Jr. does when he finds a nice piece of roadkill. You know, for years, administrations tried to manage the threat, sanctions here, waivers there, pallets full of cash that were diverted away from the Clinton Foundation. The nuclear clock kept ticking. Clearing the board, though, means you confront the capability before it becomes leverage. It's the exclamation point that puts an end to endless escalation. You want a stable Middle East? The Abraham Accords didn't happen because everyone held hands and sang Imagine. We applied pressure. Alliances started to shift. Same thing with NATO. Trump turned up the heat until other countries increased spending. Don't forget the border. The administration redefined empathy as deterrence. And now the border is tighter than Nancy Pelosi's face. In the past, red lines weren't read, withdrawals were announced in advance, adversaries tested limits because they sense hesitation. Trump's different. So if you're trying to figure this out using the old leadership model, good luck. It's like pulling into a gas station with an electric car. Good luck finding the gas cap. So what's next? Who knows? But based on what Trump has done before, I'm betting he does. Let's welcome tonight's guest. His first name is spelled like brain, and that's where the similarities end. Host of Fox and Friends in One Nation, Brian Kilmeade. He gets startled by unfamiliar noises like laughter. Writer and comedian Joe DeVito. Social workers told her to stop recruiting babysitters off DoorDash. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor Kat Tube. Thankfully, his female stalkers are known to use walkers. Former NWA World Champion and host of the Planet Towers podcast, Iris. Brian, I've missed all of your commentary on this because I don't get up that early.
Right.
I'm assuming it's as banal as always. But give us your, what do you call your 35,000-foot view of
Right.
this?
It's probably 32,000 foot, but let's just, it's high. By the way, Sunday's at 10 also, if you prefer that time slot.
Well, no, I don't.
Yeah, I thought so. I think it's so funny that Trump's like, I had a guy in mind, but I killed him by mistake.
Yes.
I had no idea. Then he killed everybody else. And then we decided, maybe I'll pick another guy. But then I had a panel of experts, and I killed the panel of experts that was supposed to pick the next guy. So I'm going to pick the next guy. But, we'll see what happens. Let's go. Any other questions? To me, it's like sometimes it's like, well, I was driving. I would have been here on time. I got caught in traffic. Well, I started taking out our long-time nemesis, and on the way to doing that, I killed everyone that could lead the country. My sense, he's just peeling back, blowing up all the so-called traditional diplomatic pathways, the things that Kissinger wrote books about, they did documentaries about, of how you go into a war, how you fight a war, how you win a war. He's just going, I'm going to do it my way. And I think that when you said the other day, it's like, give him benefit of the doubt. All I can tell you is he didn't create this problem. From 11th grade, if you took social studies, you heard about Iran. Iran's a problem when you take the hostages. Ted Koppel gets a career because of the hostages. Iran's a problem because of the nuclear weapon. Iran's a problem when we go into Iraq. Okay, so now they're saying, well, what is Trump doing? He's solving a 47-year-old problem that everyone else tried to put some Vaseline on and some gauze. He decides to go in there and fix it. And people are like, well, what's your end game? The end game is winning. And the end game, sooner or later, we're going to kill enough people where the people are going to rise up and decide what kind of government they're going to have. I understand, Kat, where your husband's coming from. I talk to a lot of people that serve in the military, and they're going, uh-oh, we're going to the Middle East. But they also say, why the hell did we let Iran get away with this and kill so many of our guys when we were in Iraq to begin with? 600 dead, over 1,200 wounded, and Iran got away with it. They got away with our hostages, got away with the Beirut bombing, got away with the Cobra Towers. Finally, we have a president that wants to make them pay the price. And you don't think he has a plan? I got his plan. It's called payback, and we're going to keep killing everyone until we get a normal person to lead that country.
Wow. The fact that you blamed Ted Koppel's rise on Iran makes me want to bomb them even more. Now, do you want to respond to his fiery, what's that called?
Polemic?
Polemic directed at you and your husband.
That is.
Yeah. I could have given you his phone number.
You would never get him off the phone, Brian.
Okay.
No, obviously that's very inspiring and cheering, and everyone goes, yay, and people love watching this stuff blow up. I mean, I'm not upset that this guy is dead, obviously. It's very much a good thing to see that happen. I think that I just have concerns about what happens now and what happens next based on the past. Now, of course, if we have a democratic government in Iran in a couple months and they take away the ability for them to have nukes and we're not having to go back in there, that would be exactly what I would want, right? That I would, not only would I say I was wrong, I would be so happy about saying I was wrong, because that would mean that the world would be a safer place, and that the people that Americans that we've sadly lost already, that would not have been in vain. I love my country. I totally hear where anyone's coming from who is excited by this and like rah, 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 rah. And that always happens at the beginning of these conflicts. I'm just a little skeptical, but I hope so much that I am wrong and that you're right.
Right. I would say the status quo doesn't work.
Yeah.
So the next day with those guys in power don't work.
Joe, we're seeing Trump bomb Iran. Does that remind you of bombing on stage?
Yes, a little bit. You know, I got to say, I'm in shock.
Yeah.
I can't believe you let Brian say Vaseline and Endgame.
Yeah, I was sitting here the same thing.
Dude,
Vaseline and Endgame. Do you see him? He wrote it down.
I wrote it down.
He wrote it down.
I wrote it down, and then I forgot about it because I thought, you know what, he invoked cats, so I was like, no, I can't inject my Vaseline joke here.
Well, there'll be other times.
Yes.
I'll use it again, I promise.
So far, I mean, I'm disappointed we didn't take out a different anti-American regime in Minneapolis.
Yes.
But this head of Iran, it's getting to be a very difficult job to fill. There's not a lot of activity on LinkedIn getting the resumes
There's
ready.
no more pictures.
Yeah, because when we used to fight Al Qaeda, that you always heard the headlines. We took out the number 2 guy, and then it was another number 2 guy.
Yeah.
And I thought, rather top-heavy management structure there. But here it's the top 50 dudes gone. They're into the DEI hires at this point, because they're kind of like the opposite of Catholics.
Yeah.
Okay, because when we elect a new leader, there's smoke comes out of a building and there's a new pope. And in Iran, smoke comes out of a building and there's a new parking lot. So I'm with Kat, though. I know we're coming out of the gate strong on this. If the decapitation strikes work, it's some new way for regime change. But I'm looking at this the way I look at before I go on a date. I look at it and I say, how much is this going to cost me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I see the Persians cheering, and I say, I want to stay hopeful with this, but it's a very dangerous part of the world. But if the mullahs have to die, that's fine with me.
That's a terrible analogy, because the best part of your date is before you show up. It's always downhill. No, I'm just talking in general. You know, you're at your very best at the door. So it's like, the more they get to know you is what I'm saying.
It's not when you leave your money on the dresser.
No. Iris.
Huh.
So, what do you think?
What do I think? There's so many things to cover. This is how I feel about it. Before Trump we couldn't solve the border crisis. We needed 3 wizards, an elf, and a witch in the Senate. He solved that. He just came in and did it. I think the difference between President Trump and previous presidents has been there's very hard to find war for profit or war for everything. He's doing things directly against the pale. And again, I bring this up. Everything that, even look at Venezuela, everything that he has attacked has been done precision-wise because he's actually relied on the experts. And he's been getting it done in record time. Again, I want to bring this up, and I think we just heard today, I think the Kurds, Loda, what he is doing is the first time that I can remember other Middle Eastern countries saying, where do we sign up? That is a huge thing because in the past it was, we're not involved, just stay out of our stuff. And then they would let their proxies shoot at our guys from there and like, oh, no, it's not us. So I think that's the biggest thing is that the Middle East has changed. And President Trump and his team, they're doing something different because what has been done in the past didn't work. Money didn't work. Favors didn't work. Free tanks and helicopters didn't work. So now it is not just the fear of before there was certain things, we never seemed to take out the top guy because we wanted to leave him around and negotiate.
Yeah.
You had a chance to negotiate. You didn't choose that. Now we'll find, 115th in line? He'll get his shot. But by doing that is also sending a message that business as usual in Iran is over. So no matter what they try, who Ayatollah, who the hell ever, is going to get blown up. You're going to have to realize it's over. But the beautiful thing is, I think, and I've been pretty good with predictions, I think 3 months into this, you'll see America moving out, and you'll see places like Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, Iraq coming in.
Yeah, you know what would be great is if, they're in this line of succession. At some point, it's like an undergrad at USC, some like engineering student finds out that
It's like what if it's Joe Mackey?
Yes.
Like Joe Mackey is the heir to the Persian throne.
He was just saying he's just a distant cousin.
Yeah, how does it pay? He'd say.
Yes,
do it.
exactly.
Can I wear a uniform?
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.